The Velthrani warship cut through the darkness of space like a knife through flesh. High War Master Zorvax stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the planet below burn. Kesora 7 was a small world, green and blue, home to the Marathi people. They were a gentle species. They had no warships. They had no weapons worth mentioning. They were perfect targets. "Report," Zorvax commanded. His voice was deep and cold. His scaled skin was dark purple, and his 4 eyes glowed yellow in the dim light of the bridge. "The ground assault is proceeding as planned." "High War Master," his second officer replied. "Marathi resistance is minimal. We have captured 3 major cities. Slave processing has begun." Zorvax smiled. His teeth were sharp and many. The Velthrani Empire had conquered dozens of species across the galaxy. The Marathi would be just another addition to their slave population. Their small bodies made them useful for mining operations. Their gentle nature made them easy to control. On the surface of Kesora 7, fire rained from the sky. Velthrani dropships landed in the central plaza of the capital city. Soldiers in black armor marched through the streets, dragging Marathi from their homes. The Marathi were small creatures, barely reaching the chest of an average human. They had soft gray fur and large dark eyes that now filled with tears. Elder Tessavi watched from a hidden basement as soldiers took her people away. She was old, even by Marathi standards. She had seen much in her long life, but she had never seen anything like this cruelty. "We must send the signal," she said to the young ones hiding with her. "We must call for help." "Who will help us?" a young Marathi asked. His voice shook with fear. "No one cares about us. We are small. We are weak. We have nothing to offer." Tessavi placed her small hand on his shoulder. 2 years ago, we signed a treaty. Do you remember? The humans came to us. They offered friendship. They offered protection. They asked nothing in return except peace between our peoples. "The humans?" Another Marathi spoke up. "I have seen humans before. They came to Vassar 3 after the great earthquake. They brought medicine and food. They rebuilt homes. They are kind, Elder. But they are not warriors. How can healers save us from the Velthrani?" Tessavi moved to a hidden communication device. "I do not know what the humans will do. But they gave us their word. They said if we ever needed help, we should call. So I will call." She activated the device and spoke into it. Her voice was calm even though her heart beat fast with fear. "This is Elder Tessavi of the Marathi people. We are calling the United Earth Alliance. Our world is under attack. The Velthrani Empire is killing our people and taking them as slaves. Please, if you can hear us, we need help. We need you." The message flew across the stars at faster than light speed. It passed through relay stations and communication networks. It traveled for hours until it reached a blue planet called Earth. In the command center of the United Earth Alliance military headquarters, a young communications officer named Kevin Park sat up straight in his chair. His screens were flashing. An emergency distress signal was coming in. "Sir," he called out. "We have a priority 1 distress call. It is from Kesora 7, the Marathi colony." Admiral Lisa Morgan was across the room in seconds. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and sharp blue eyes. She had served in the Earth Fleet for 30 years. She had seen battles and tragedies. She had held dying soldiers in her arms, but nothing made her angrier than hearing about innocent people being hurt. "Play it," she ordered. Elder Tessavi's voice filled the room. Everyone stopped what they were doing. They listened to the fear in her words. They heard the sounds of explosions in the background. "The Velthrani," Admiral Morgan said quietly. "I know them. Slavers, conquerors. They think they can take whatever they want." "Admiral," Kevin Park said carefully, "the Marathi are under our protection treaty. But the Velthrani fleet is large. Intelligence reports suggest they have over 150 warships in that sector." Admiral Morgan turned to face him. Her expression was hard as stone. "I am aware of the numbers, Lieutenant. Contact President Carter immediately." Tell him the Marathi are under attack. Tell him I am requesting full fleet authorization." 20 minutes later, Admiral Morgan stood in a secure communication room. The face of President Daniel Carter appeared on the screen before her. He was a man in his 50s with tired eyes and a strong jaw. The weight of leading humanity showed in the lines on his face. "I have read the report," the president said. "The Velthrani attacked a protected species. They are taking slaves." "Yes, sir," Admiral Morgan replied. "They think we will do nothing. They think we are weak." President Carter was silent for a moment. "Why would they think that?" "Because of our reputation, sir. When other species look at humanity, they see our medical ships. They see our disaster relief teams. They see us building hospitals and schools on damaged worlds. They see kindness. And they mistake kindness for weakness," the president finished. "Yes, sir. The Velthrani have made that mistake." President Carter leaned forward. His tired eyes suddenly burned with cold fire. "Admiral Morgan, you have full authorization. Respond with everything. Show them what happens when someone hurts those we have sworn to protect." Admiral Morgan saluted. "Understood, Mr. President." Within the hour, orders went out across the Earth fleet. The first combat fleet, stationed near Mars, began powering up their engines. The second combat fleet, patrolling the outer colonies, changed course toward Kasora 7. The third combat fleet, the newest and most powerful ships humanity had ever built, emerged from their hidden base in the asteroid belt. 412 warships began moving toward a single point in space. On the bridge of the USS Valor, Admiral Morgan watched her fleet assemble on the tactical display. Captain Henry Cole stood beside her. He was a younger man, strong and quiet, with a reputation for brilliant tactical thinking. "Admiral," he said, "the Velthrani do not know what is coming. Their intelligence on our military strength is decades out of date." Admiral Morgan nodded slowly. "They saw what we wanted them to see. Medical ships. Relief missions. Humanitarian aid. They thought that was all we had. They were wrong, very wrong." Admiral Morgan turned to address her bridge crew. "All hands. This is the Admiral. We are going to war. The Marathi people trusted us to protect them. We will not fail that trust. The Velthrani will learn today that human compassion and human strength are not opposites. They are two sides of the same coin." She paused and looked out at the stars. "Jump coordinates locked in. All ships, engage faster than light drives. We have people to save." The human fleet vanished into the darkness between stars, racing toward a battle that would change how the galaxy saw humanity forever. Far away, on Kasora 7, High Warmaster Zorvax received a report that made him laugh. Human ships had been detected, heading toward the system. "How many?" he asked, still amused. "Unknown, High Warmaster. Drive signatures suggest a small group, perhaps 20 or 30 vessels." Zorvax laughed again. "Probably hospital ships. Let them come. Let them watch while we take their precious Marathi. It will teach them the cost of making promises they cannot keep." He had no idea how wrong he was. 3 days passed on Kasora 7. 3 days of fire and screaming. 3 days of Velthrani soldiers marching through cities, dragging Marathi families from their hiding places. The slave ships were filling quickly. Soon they would return to Velthrani space with their cargo of broken spirits and trembling bodies. High Warmaster Zorvax stood on his command deck, pleased with the progress. His fleet of 160 warships orbited the planet like hungry predators circling wounded prey. Ground forces reported that resistance had all but ended. The Marathi were too gentle, too peaceful, too small to fight back. "High Warmaster," an officer called out. "We have confirmed detection of the human fleet. They have entered the outer edge of the system." Zorvax turned slowly. "How many ships?" "Our sensors show. There must be an error." "High Warmaster." "What error?" The officer looked at his screens with confusion on his face. "The readings suggest over 400 vessels. But that cannot be correct. Human military strength is estimated at 50 combat ships, mostly light patrol craft." Zorvax walked to the sensor station and looked at the data himself. The numbers were strange. but he was not worried. Sensors could be fooled. The humans were probably using some kind of trick to make their small fleet appear larger. "Send a patrol group to investigate," he ordered. 10 ships. That should be more than enough to handle whatever the humans have brought. "Yes, High War Master." The patrol group departed immediately. 10 Velthrani warships, each one armed with plasma cannons and protected by the strongest shields in the known galaxy. Their commander, Captain Veth, was confident. He had destroyed human vessels before. Small things with weak weapons, this would be easy. Meanwhile, on the Velthrani homeworld of Korthax Prime, Emperor Krath sat on his throne of black stone. Advisors surrounded him, bringing reports from across the Empire. The conquest of Kisora 7 was barely worth mentioning. Just another small species falling under Velthrani rule. "What of the human response?" the Emperor asked, mostly out of boredom. "A small fleet has been dispatched, Divine Emperor," an advisor replied. "Intelligence suggests they are sending medical ships, and perhaps a few escort vessels. The humans have a treaty with the Murathi, so they feel obligated to make some show of concern. Medical ships." The Emperor laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. The humans are a strange species. They spend their resources helping others instead of conquering them. They build hospitals instead of warships. They train doctors instead of soldiers. They are weak, Divine Emperor. Their compassion makes them weak. Indeed, has anyone ever seen a human warship in actual combat? The advisors looked at each other. None of them could recall such an event. The humans were known for disaster relief, for medical missions, for feeding the hungry and healing the sick. Noble work, perhaps, but hardly the behavior of a species to be feared. "Exactly," the Emperor said. "The humans are no threat. They will watch their precious Mirathi become slaves, and they will do nothing because they can do nothing. Continue with operations. I want those slaves in our mines within the month." Back at Kisora 7, the Velthrani patrol group approached the edge of the system. Captain Veth watched his sensors with growing confusion. The readings still showed hundreds of ships. As they got closer, the numbers did not change. If anything, they became clearer. "This is impossible," Veth whispered. "How can the humans have this many warships?" His communications officer spoke up. "Captain, we are being hailed. Put it through." A human face appeared on the screen. It was a woman with gray hair and cold blue eyes. She wore a military uniform, covered in medals and insignia. Her expression showed no emotion at all. "Velthrani vessels," she said. "This is Admiral Lisa Morgan of the United Earth Alliance. You have attacked a species under our protection. You will withdraw from this system immediately and release all Marathi prisoners, or you will be destroyed. This is your only warning." Captain Veth stared at the screen. Part of him wanted to laugh. Part of him felt a cold fear growing in his chest. He chose to ignore the fear. "Human," he replied. "You do not give orders to the Velthrani Empire. Return to your homeworld and continue playing doctor. This is not your concern." He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. "Target the lead human ship. Fire when ready." The Velthrani ships opened fire. Plasma blasts shot through space toward the human fleet. In that moment, Captain Veth expected to see human ships explode, scatter, flee. Instead, the human ships did not even try to dodge. The plasma blasts hit their shields and did nothing. The human shields held without any sign of stress. Then the human ships returned fire. Captain Veth had never seen weapons like these. Beams of focused energy cut through space at impossible speeds. Kinetic rounds the size of small vehicles punched through Velthrani armor, like it was made of paper. Missiles swarmed in from multiple angles, too many to shoot down. 3 Velthrani ships exploded in the first 5 seconds. "Return fire! Return fire!" Veth screamed. His ship shook as a kinetic round tore through the lower decks. Alarms screamed. Crew members were dying. The shields that were supposed to be the strongest in the galaxy failed completely under the human assault. In 90 seconds, it was over. All 10 Velthrani patrol ships were destroyed. Only a few escape pods managed to launch before the end. Captain Veth was not in any of them. Admiral Morgan watched the destruction from the bridge of the USS Valor. Her face showed no satisfaction, no joy. This was not something to celebrate. This was a task that needed to be done. "Commander Santos," she said to her intelligence officer, "did they manage to send a transmission back to the main fleet?" Commander Maria Santos checked her screens. "Yes, Admiral. They sent a partial report before we jammed their communications. The main Velthrani fleet now knows our true numbers." "Good. Let them think about that for a while." Captain Henry Cole stepped forward. "Admiral, the element of surprise is gone. The Velthrani will be preparing defenses." "Let them prepare," Admiral Morgan replied. "It will not matter. Our objective is not just to defeat them, it is to send a message. Every species in this galaxy needs to understand what happens when you attack those we protect." She looked at the tactical display. 412 human warships against 160 Velthrani vessels. The numbers favored humanity. But numbers were not everything. The Velthrani were experienced warriors. They had conquered dozens of species. They would not surrender easily. "All ships," Admiral Morgan broadcast to her fleet. "Begin, advance toward Cassora 7. We will arrive in 6 hours. Use that time to rest and prepare. When we reach the planet, there will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy for those who enslave the innocent. We are humanity. We heal the sick. We feed the hungry. We protect the weak. And when someone threatens those under our care, we destroy them completely." The human fleet began its final approach. 400 ships, moving as one. Their weapons charged, their crews ready. On his flagship, High Warmaster Zorvax received the last transmission from Captain Veth. The footage showed human warships tearing through his patrol group like they were nothing. The weapons, the shields, the coordination. This was not what he expected. This was not what anyone expected. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Where did they hide all this power?" No one had an answer for him. Zorvax realized he had made a terrible mistake. But it was too late to run. It was too late to call for help. The humans were coming. And they were not bringing medicine. They were bringing death. 6 hours felt like 6 years to High Warmaster Zorvax. He spent every minute preparing his fleet for the coming battle. Ships moved into defensive formations. Weapons were charged to maximum power. Shields were reinforced with every available energy reserve. But deep inside, Zorvax knew it might not be enough. He had watched the recording of his patrol group's destruction over and over again. The human weapons were more powerful than anything in Velthrani intelligence reports. Their shields were stronger than Velthrani plasma cannons could breach. Their coordination was perfect, as if the 400 ships shared a single mind. "High Warmaster," his second officer reported. "The human fleet will arrive in 15 minutes. Zorvax stood tall. He would not show fear to his crew. The Velthrani were warriors. They had conquered half the galaxy. They would not be defeated by a species of doctors and aid workers. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet. "The humans are coming. They think their numbers will frighten us. They think we will run. But we are Velthrani. We do not run. We fight. We conquer. We win. Today, we will show these soft-hearted fools what real warriors can do." His officers cheered, but their voices sounded hollow. They had all seen the recording. They knew what was coming. On the USS Valor, Admiral Lisa Morgan stood at the center of her command deck. Around her, officers worked at their stations with calm focus. There was no panic, no excitement. This was what they trained for. This was what humanity kept hidden from the galaxy. "Admiral," Captain Henry Cole said, "we are approaching weapons range. Status of enemy fleet? 160 warships in defensive formation around the planet. They have positioned their heaviest ships in front, with smaller vessels behind." "Standard Velthrani tactics," Admiral Morgan nodded. The Velthrani were predictable. They always used the same formations, the same strategies. They had conquered so many weak species that they never learned to adapt. "Commander Santos, what is the status of the Marathi population?" Commander Maria Santos checked her intelligence reports. Approximately 40% of the Marathi have been captured and placed in slave transport ships. The rest are hiding or have been killed. The situation on the ground is critical, Admiral. Then we have no time to waste. All ships, engage at will. Priority targets are the slave transports. Disable. Do not destroy. We need those ships intact to rescue the prisoners. Admiral, Cole said carefully, engaging the transports will put our ships in the middle of the enemy formation. We will be surrounded. Admiral Morgan looked at him with steady eyes. Then we will destroy them from the inside out. Give the order. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The first group, led by the USS Valor, drove straight into the center of the Velthrani formation. The second group swept around the left side. The third group swept around the right. The Velthrani found themselves attacked from 3 directions at once. High War Master Zorvax screamed orders at his captains. Close the formation. Concentrate fire on the center group. Do not let them reach the transports. Velthrani ships poured plasma fire at the advancing humans. The space between the 2 fleets turned bright with weapons fire. Ships on both sides began taking hits, but the results were not equal. Human shields absorbed Velthrani plasma with ease. The energy simply spread across the shield surface and faded away. But when human weapons struck Velthrani shields, they punched through like rocks through water. Velthrani ships exploded one after another. On the bridge of his flagship, Zorvax watched his fleet dying. This is impossible, he whispered. Our shields are the strongest in the galaxy. How are they breaking through so easily? His weapons officer shook his head. The human weapons use multiple types of energy at once. High War Master, plasma, kinetic, electromagnetic. Our shields are calibrated to stop one type at a time. They cannot handle all of them together. Then recalibrate. There is no time, High War Master. They are already inside our formation. The USS Valor led a group of 50 human warships directly into the heart of the Velthrani fleet. They moved with perfect coordination, each ship covering the others, each weapon finding its target. Captain Cole directed the tactical operations with cold precision. Target the command ships first, Admiral Morgan ordered. Cut off their leadership. Then we take the transports. Human missiles streaked through space, slamming into Velthrani command vessels. One by one, the ships that carried Velthrani admirals and generals exploded into clouds of fire and metal. The Velthrani fleet began to lose coordination. Without orders from above, individual captains started making their own decisions. Some tried to fight. Some tried to run. Some simply froze, unable to process what was happening. On the ground of Kisora 7, the Mirathi, hiding in basements and caves, heard the explosions in the sky. Elder Tasavi looked up through a broken window and saw lights flashing in orbit. Battle. The humans had come. Are we being saved or destroyed? A young Mirathi asked. Tasavi did not know. She could only watch and pray. In space, the battle continued. Admiral Morgan's center group reached the slave transports. These ships were large and slow, designed to carry thousands of prisoners. They had minimal weapons and thin shields. Disable their engines, Morgan ordered. Marines, prepare for boarding operations. Human warships surrounded the transports and fired precise shots at their engine sections. One by one, the transports went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Marine assault shuttles launched from human carriers, racing toward the disabled ships. High War Master Zorvax saw his slave transports being captured. His prize, his proof of victory, was being taken from him. Rage filled his heart. All ships, target the human flagship, he screamed. Destroy their admiral. Kill her. 20 Velthrani warships turned their weapons toward the USS Valor. They fired everything they had. The space around the human flagship turned white with plasma energy. Admiral Morgan did not flinch. Reinforce forward shields. Return fire. The Valor shook as it absorbed the massive attack. Warning lights flashed on multiple decks, but the shields held. And when the humans fired back, 20 Velthrani ships became 10, then 5, then none. Captain Cole looked at his damage reports. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12. Casualties are minimal. Shields are holding at 60%. Continue the attack, Morgan ordered. We stop when they stop. The battle raged for 2 more hours. The Velthrani fought with desperation, knowing they were losing, knowing they would die. Some captains tried to surrender, but Admiral Morgan accepted no surrenders from ships that still had weapons operational. Only when a ship was completely disabled did the humans stop firing. By the end, 112 Velthrani warships were destroyed. 43 were disabled and captured. Only 5 managed to escape into faster-than-light travel, running back to Velthrani space with stories of horror and defeat. High War Master Zorvax's flagship was one of the 5 that tried to run. Admiral Morgan saw his ship breaking away from the battle. "He is trying to escape," she said quietly. "Should we let him go?" Captain Cole asked. "He can carry a message back to his empire." Morgan shook her head slowly. "He will carry a message, but not with words. Commander Santos, track his jump trajectory. All ships in pursuit group, follow me. We are not finished yet." The USS Valor and 12 other human warships jumped after the fleeing Velthrani flagship. The hunt was not over. High War Master Zorvax would not escape justice. Behind them, the remaining human fleet began rescue operations. Marines boarded the slave transports and freed thousands of Marathi prisoners. Medical teams descended to the planet's surface to help the wounded. Engineers began repairs on damaged infrastructure. The humans had come for war, but they brought healing too. That was the human way. High War Master Zorvax gripped the arms of his command chair as his flagship tore through faster-than-light space. Behind him, he knew the humans were following. Their ships were somehow faster, somehow more advanced than anything Velthrani engineers had ever built. "How long until we reach Velthrani territory?" he demanded. 6 hours, High War Master, his navigator replied. The officer's voice was shaking. Half the crew was dead or injured. The ship was damaged in multiple sections. They were running for their lives. "And the humans? They are matching our speed. They will reach us before we cross the border." Zorvax closed his 4 eyes. This was not how it was supposed to happen. The Velthrani were conquerors. They took what they wanted. They crushed the weak beneath their feet. How had everything gone so wrong? He had underestimated the humans. Everyone had underestimated the humans. They looked at Earth and saw doctors, teachers, builders. They saw a species that spent its resources helping others instead of arming itself. They saw weakness. They were wrong. 3 hours into the chase, the USS Valor caught up with the Velthrani flagship. Admiral Morgan stood on her bridge, watching the enemy ship on her screens. It was damaged, trailing smoke and debris, but still trying to escape. "They cannot outrun us," Captain Cole reported. "We will intercept in 12 minutes. Open a channel," Morgan ordered. "Let me speak to him." A moment later, the face of High War Master Zorvax appeared on the communications screen. He looked older than before. His scales had lost their shine. His yellow eyes were filled with something that might have been fear. "Human," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Why do you pursue me? The battle is over. You have won. Let me return to my empire." Admiral Morgan looked at him without pity. "You attacked a species under our protection. You killed innocent people. You took slaves. Did you think there would be no consequences? I was following orders. The Emperor commanded the attack. I am just a soldier. You were the War Master. You gave the orders on the ground. You watched your troops drag families from their homes. You did nothing to stop it." Zorvax leaned forward. "I can offer you information. Intelligence about the Velthrani military. Locations of our bases. Weaknesses in our defenses. Spare my life, and I will tell you everything." Admiral Morgan was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. "I do not need your information. We already know your weaknesses. We have known for decades. We just never had a reason to use that knowledge. Until now." Then what do you want? Name your price. The Empire has wealth, resources, technology. We can give you anything. You have nothing I want. Morgan's voice was cold as space. You attacked those under our protection. There is only one answer for that. She cut the transmission and turned to her weapons officer. Target their engines first. I want them stopped, not destroyed. Not yet. Human warships surrounded the Velthrani flagship. Precision shots disabled its engines, its weapons, its shields. The great warship drifted helplessly. A dead giant in the void. No life signs on enemy weapons decks, Commander Santos reported. Their main systems are offline. They are defenseless. Admiral Morgan nodded slowly. Open a channel. Final transmission. Zorvax appeared on screen again. His bridge was dark, lit only by emergency lights. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. His remaining crew stood around him, waiting for death. You could have surrendered at Kasora 7, Morgan said. You could have released your prisoners and withdrawn. We gave you that chance. You chose to fight. We are Velthrani. Zorvax replied. His voice was hollow. We do not surrender. Then you understand what comes next. Zorvax laughed bitterly. You humans, you pretend to be so noble, so compassionate, but you are killers, just like us. You hide behind your medical ships and your relief missions, but this is what you truly are. Warriors, destroyers. Admiral Morgan considered his words. You are partly right. We are capable of great destruction. But there is a difference between us. We only destroy those who harm the innocent. You destroy anyone weaker than yourself. That is why you will die today. And that is why humanity will live forever. She turned to her weapons officer one last time. Fire. The human fleet opened up with everything they had. The Velthrani flagship, once the pride of their empire, was torn apart in seconds. High War Master Zorvax died never truly understanding the species he had awakened. Back at Kasora 7, the rescue operations were in full progress. Captain Cole had remained behind to coordinate the effort, while Admiral Morgan pursued Zorvax. Now he stood in the cargo bay of a slave transport, watching Marines cut open the prisoner cells. Marathi emerged by the hundreds. They were thin, frightened, their gray fur matted and dirty. Many had injuries from the Velthrani soldiers. Some could barely walk. Human medics rushed forward with supplies and gentle hands. You are safe now, they told the prisoners. No one will hurt you anymore. A small Marathi child, no older than 5 or 6 by human reckoning, stood alone in the corner of a cell. She had no family with her. Her eyes were wide with shock. Cole walked over to her slowly. He was a big man, tall and strong, trained for war. But he knelt down to be at her level. Hello, he said softly. My name is Henry. I am here to help you. The child stared at him. She had never seen a human before. She did not know if she could trust him. Are you hungry? Cole asked. He pulled a nutrition bar from his pocket. It is not very tasty, but it will fill your stomach. Slowly, carefully, the child reached out and took the bar. She ate it quickly, watching Cole the whole time. Good, he said. Now let us find someone to take care of you. He picked her up gently and carried her to the medical team. She was so light, so fragile. It reminded him why they fought. Not for glory, not for conquest, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. On the planet's surface, human dropships descended through the smoke-filled sky. The Marathi, who had been hiding, looked up and saw strange vessels landing in their ruined cities. They prepared for more soldiers, more violence. Instead, the doors opened, and humans stepped out, carrying medical supplies, food, water, and construction equipment. Behind them came soldiers, yes. But these soldiers immediately began clearing rubble and searching for survivors. Elder Tisavi emerged from her hiding place. A human woman approached her with a gentle smile. Elder Tisavi? The woman asked. I am Dr. Rachel Liu, Chief Medical Officer of the Relief Team. Admiral Morgan sends her regards. She wants you to know that the Velthrani fleet has been destroyed. Your people are free. Tessavi felt tears running down her face. Why? She asked. Why did you come? Why did you risk so much for us? Dr. Liu thought about the question. Because you asked for help. Because we gave our word. Because protecting the innocent is what makes us human. She offered her hand to the elder. Come. Let us begin rebuilding your world. Across Kasora 7, humans and Marathi worked together. The healing had begun. But far away, in Velthrani space, very different conversations were happening. The 5 ships that escaped the battle had reached home. Their captains told stories of human warships that shrugged off plasma fire, weapons that tore through the strongest shields, and a fleet larger than anyone had imagined possible. Emperor Krath listened in silence. When the reports were finished, he asked only one question. How many warships do the humans have in total? The answer would change everything. Emperor Krath sat on his throne of black stone, surrounded by the most powerful leaders of the Velthrani Empire. Generals, admirals, governors, and advisors filled the great hall. None of them dared to speak. They were waiting for the emperor to process what he had just learned. The 5 surviving captains knelt before him, still trembling from their escape. They had told their stories. They had shown the recordings. Every Velthrani in the room had watched their mighty fleet be torn apart by human warships. How many total? The emperor asked again. His voice was quiet, which made it more frightening. When Emperor Krath was quiet, people died. His intelligence chief stepped forward nervously. Divine Emperor, we have reviewed all available data. The human fleet that attacked Kasora 7 numbered 412 warships. According to intercepted communications, this represents approximately 8 to 10% of their total military force. Silence filled the hall. You are telling me, the Emperor said slowly, that the humans have over 4,000 warships? Possibly more, Divine Emperor. They appear to have hidden their true military strength for decades. Perhaps centuries. What we believed was their entire fleet was merely their humanitarian division, hospital ships, rescue vessels. They showed us only what they wanted us to see. An admiral spoke up. Divine Emperor, if I may, how is this possible? Building such a fleet would require enormous resources. How could they hide this from the galaxy? 2. The intelligence chief swallowed hard. The humans invest differently than we do, Admiral. They do not spend their wealth on golden palaces or luxury vessels for their nobles. They live simply. They work together. And apparently, they build warships in hidden facilities spread across uninhabited systems. Emperor Krath stood from his throne. He walked slowly to a window that looked out over the Velthrani capital. Millions of his people lived below, going about their lives, unaware that everything had changed. We have conquered 43 species, he said. We have built an empire that spans hundreds of star systems. We believed we were the greatest military power in the galaxy. He turned to face his advisors. And now we learn that a species of doctors and aid workers could destroy us whenever they choose. Divine Emperor, a general said carefully. Perhaps we could negotiate. Offer tribute. Form an alliance. The humans do not want tribute. They do not want alliance. They want one thing. The Emperor's voice was bitter. They want us to stop harming the innocent. They want us to give up our slaves. They want us to become something other than what we are. Then we must fight. We must build more ships, develop better weapons. With what? The Emperor snapped. Our shipyards are already working at full capacity. Our scientists have not developed new weapons in a century. The humans have been preparing for conflict, while we have been celebrating our superiority. The war is already lost. We simply did not know it. He returned to his throne and sat heavily. Send a message to the human government. Tell them we wish to discuss terms. Far away, on Earth, Admiral Lisa Morgan stood before the Council of Nations to deliver her report. President Daniel Carter sat at the head of the table, along with the leaders of every major Earth government. The Battle of Kasora 7 was a complete victory, Morgan began. We destroyed 112 enemy warships and captured 43 more. High War Master Zorvax was killed, attempting to escape. 5 Velthrani vessels reached their home territory to report what happened. And our losses? President Carter asked. 18 ships damaged, none destroyed. 214 casualties, 42 of them fatal. Morgan paused. Every death is a tragedy, but considering the scale of the engagement, our losses were remarkably light. The council members looked at each other. They had expected worse. What about the Mirathi? Another leader asked. What is the status of the civilians? Approximately 12,000 Mirathi were killed during the Velthrani invasion. Another 30,000 were captured as slaves. We have liberated all surviving prisoners. Relief teams are currently on the surface, providing medical care, food, water, and reconstruction assistance. The Marathi Elder Council has expressed profound gratitude. President Carter nodded slowly. Admiral, I must ask a difficult question. Was this level of military response necessary? We revealed capabilities that we have kept hidden for generations. Every species in the galaxy now knows how powerful humanity truly is. Admiral Morgan met his eyes without hesitation. Mr. President, the Velthrani were taking slaves. They were killing innocent people. They thought they could do this because they believed we were weak. If we had responded with anything less than overwhelming force, they would have continued. Others would have been encouraged to try the same thing. By showing our true strength, we have sent a message that will save far more lives in the long run. And what message is that, Admiral? That humanity will always choose compassion first. We will heal the sick. We will feed the hungry. We will help those in need. But if anyone mistakes that compassion for weakness, if anyone harms those we have sworn to protect, they will face consequences beyond their imagination. The council was quiet for a moment. Then President Carter spoke. Admiral Morgan, on behalf of the United Earth Alliance, I thank you and everyone who served in this operation. You have made us proud. You have shown the galaxy who we truly are. In the weeks that followed, news of the battle spread across known space. Species who had dismissed humans as harmless aid workers suddenly looked at them differently. Diplomats requested meetings, trade agreements were renegotiated. Several smaller species who had been threatened by larger neighbors quietly asked about protection treaties. The Velthrani Empire sent envoys to Earth. They offered to end all slave operations. They offered reparations to the Mirathi. They offered peace. President Carter accepted their offers but made one thing clear. Peace requires trust. Trust requires proof. We will be watching. If the Velthrani harm any innocent species again, we will respond. And next time, we will not stop at one fleet. On Kasora 7, the reconstruction continued. Human engineers worked alongside Mirathi builders to repair damaged cities. Human doctors trained Mirathi medics in advanced healing techniques. Human teachers helped establish new schools. Elder Tessavi visited the construction site of a new community center. Admiral Morgan was there, personally overseeing the work. The two of them stood together, watching humans and Mirathi cooperate. I still do not fully understand your species, Tessavi admitted. You are capable of such gentleness and such terrible violence. How do you hold both inside you? Admiral Morgan thought about the question. We are not two different things, Elder. The compassion and the strength come from the same place. We protect those we care about. When protection requires healing, we heal. When protection requires fighting, we fight. It is all love, in the end. Love for the innocent. Love for those who cannot defend themselves. And if no one threatens the innocent, what then? Morgan smiled. Then we return to being doctors, teachers, and builders. We prefer it that way, honestly. Fighting is necessary sometimes, but it is never pleasant. Given the choice, every human would rather save a life than take one. Tessavi looked up at the human admiral with new understanding. Your species is not what I expected. No one ever expects us, Morgan replied. That is probably why we are still here. Across the galaxy, in countless civilizations, beings looked up at the stars and thought about humanity. The species of healers, the species of warriors, the species that gave everything to those in need and destroyed anyone who threatened the helpless. They had anticipated medical aid. They had received a lesson they would never forget. And somewhere in the void between stars, human medical ships continued their work, helping the sick, feeding the hungry, rebuilding broken worlds. Behind them, invisible but always present, the human fleet waited, ready to protect, ready to defend, ready to remind the galaxy why humanity had survived so long. Compassion and strength, mercy and justice, healing hands and iron fists. This was humanity. This had always been humanity. And this was what the galaxy would remember, forever.